Ate ground inasemaje? Ate ground inasemaje? Harambee!
What William Samoei Ruto has really been fearing is finally happening. Right now, if you go to the Gusii region and ask anybody, who will you vote for the presidential post come 2027, definitely they'll tell you it is Fred Matiang'i. I just want to inform you about the latest key political development that has happened in Kenya, especially on the side of the opposition. Politics is usually a game of numbers, and that is what opposition is trying to get right. The opposition is finally coming together. In today's analysis, I just want to base my argument on the latest meeting that was converged by the Wamunyoro and Kalonzo Musyoka at his political bedroom in Kitui County. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting that was held in Sekuru was actually very significant. For the first time, some of the very close allies to the former president of Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, were seen with the Wamunyoros. And that is a key indication that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is actually backing up the Wamunyoro coalition and is actually part and parcel of this coalition. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, for the first time, Jeremiah Kioni was seen together with Rigathi Gachagua. And that is actually a clear indication that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is actually part and parcel of Rigathi Gachagua's camp. Ladies and gentlemen, this move has really shocked William Samoei Ruto, because William Samoei Ruto has really been longing for a divided opposition. Now we have seen that the opposition is now coming together, and the Jubilee Party and the DCP Party are now coming together. That is a very significant move. At that meeting that was held in Sekuru, there were key political figures that were there, and that really shocked William Samoei Ruto. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Munya was there, Jeremiah Kioni was there, Kalonzo Musyoka was there, and Rigathi Gachagua was also there. And that is a very strong political coalition that is actually loading. Ladies and gentlemen, today I just want to see the possibility or the likelihood of the formation that is going to come out of the Wamunyoro coalition. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time joining my channel, then just hit the subscribe button and become the part and parcel of our growing team. Ladies and gentlemen, politics is usually a game of numbers, and that is what opposition is trying to get right. There is a likelihood of Kalonzo Musyoka working with Rigathi Gachagua and working with Fred Matiang'i. Why am I saying this? There is a very big possibility that Rigathi Gachagua is not going to appear on the ballot as a presidential candidate because of the impeachment saga. And Rigathi Gachagua is now proving to have a lot of influence on Mount Kenya votes. And these people being seen together is actually an indication that they're willing to work together. You know, the biggest achievement that Rigathi Gachagua wants to get is to actually remove William Samoei Ruto from the State House, whether he becomes the president or not. That is the reason as to why you saw, after Fred Matiang'i came to Kenya and went to Gusii region to the homecoming ceremony, he went straight to the Wamunyoro. And you saw the way the Wamunyoro people actually welcomed Fred Matiang'i. That is a clear indication that Rigathi Gachagua is really ready and willing to work with Fred Matiang'i. But will Fred Matiang'i be the flag bearer of this entire coalition? And ladies and gentlemen, do you think that these people or this opposition will work together? And do you think that this opposition is having a lot of influence in the Republic of Kenya as compared to the government or the ruling coalition? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to see whether Rigathi Gachagua can work with Fred Matiang'i and Kalonzo Musyoka. First and foremost, let us look at Fred Matiang'i. Fred Matiang'i is actually being supported by the former president of Republic of Kenya, that is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. This is because Fred Matiang'i worked closely with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta during his reign or during his regime. And Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is really behind Fred Matiang'i's presidential bid. That is the reason as to why I'm hinting that Fred Matiang'i is actually going to be the flag bearer of this new coalition that is going to eject William Samoei Ruto from the State House. You know very well, ladies and gentlemen, that the mountain is already gone. And William Samoei Ruto did all that he could to try to reclaim back the mountain. That's the reason as to why, after impeaching Rigathi Gachagua, that is the biggest mistake that William Samoei Ruto did. William Samoei Ruto tried to fill that gap, but he proved to be actually not able to fill that gap. William Samoei Ruto tried to look for Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and that made some people to get into the government just to please the mountain. But the mountain is actually intact. The mountain has sensed a sense of betrayal from Ruto's government, and that is the reason as to why William Samoei Ruto is going to get a very minimal percentage of votes from the Mount Kenya region. Out of 100, possibly he can get something like 10%. And ladies and gentlemen, you saw the way Fred Matiang'i actually has a lot of influence in the Gusii region. Right now, if you go to the Gusii region and ask anybody, who will you vote for the presidential post come 2027, definitely they'll tell you it is Fred Matiang'i. And that actually tells you that the Nyanza region is actually a very significant part of Nyanza region is going to support Fred Matiang'i. And all these votes channeled to Fred Matiang'i is actually going to make Fred Matiang'i be the president of the Republic of Kenya. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the second one, Fred Matiang'i is actually enjoying the support of the Gen Z. Remember during the Gen Z revolution, where the Gen Zs were protesting, the protest that led to the invasion of the Parliament of Kenya, the Gen Zs are the ones who fronted, who suggested that they want Fred Matiang'i to become the president of the Republic of Kenya. That means that a very significant number of the Gen Z are going to support Fred Matiang'i. They're rallying behind Fred Matiang'i. And that is a very significant support that Fred Matiang'i is now going to get. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really convinced that Kalonzo Musyoka is going to be Fred Matiang'i's running mate come 2027. And Rigathi Gachagua are the people who are crafting this coalition to make William Samoei Ruto to be the one-term president. Ladies and gentlemen, Kalonzo Musyoka, ladies and gentlemen, has been really loyal to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And this is the reason as to why I believe that this time round, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is going to reward Kalonzo Musyoka. And Kalonzo Musyoka is going to consolidate all the votes from Ukambani region to bring to this coalition. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a serious political craft that is happening in the opposition of Republic of Kenya. That's all for now. This is Alois TV. I don't know what you're thinking. Just drop your thoughts in the comment section. In the event you're here for the first time, just join my channel by hitting the subscribe button. Bye-bye.